Okay, welcome everyone to the second episode of the Lofi Podcast. Today, my guest is Chase Beats, otherwise known as Logan. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And how are you keeping?
I've been doing well, just trying to keep producing music and just building, the brand Chase Beats, if you will, and just trying to expand, on this musical journey.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And here, we're all on a musical journey ourselves. We're all at different stages, and that's a great thing. So, before we get into sort of lo-fi and music and things like that, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, like what you do in life, and do you have any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, for sure. So I started playing guitar at a very young age, at the age of 9. And then as far as like other hobbies go, I like to play some video games with friends on the side. And so how I actually got started playing guitar is the game Guitar Hero. So I played Guitar Hero with some friends as a kid, and that kind of, sparked my interest in learning how to actually play guitar. And so I told my parents I wanted to learn how to play guitar. They bought my first guitar and signed me up for lessons, and I started doing the lessons weekly for about 14, 15 years. And, that's kind of where, it's led me today. And fortunately for me, I was also living in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a big music city. And so I got to meet a lot of friends and connect with a lot of like-minded people that kind of, just took that interest even further for me too. So I was very fortunate for that as well.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like, especially you're in Nashville, that's kind of like music central, to be honest. There's so much that goes on there. Like, there's so many amazing musicians, recording studios, like legendary records, were cut there. So, like, I'm assuming that you're like surrounded by music all your childhood, or like, so what drew you to start producing music?
Yeah, so I'm still very new at producing. So obviously, I've been playing guitar for a while, and I never really got into the whole buy a computer, get a DAW, get some software, and just plug and play and record it. And so I'm still very new at that. So my first kind of introduction into producing was actually from my same guitar teacher. So he had a little studio in his house, and I used to pay him, I think it was $100 a song. And I would go to his house and I would just show up and I would tell him, this is what I want to do. This is my idea. I obviously don't know how to produce anything. Can you just record me, but then also kind of show me how you're producing it and show me kind of the ropes of it? And so at the age of 18, I recorded a 5-track little EP. I called it the Logan Chase EP. And it
Right.
was it was rock guitar covers of like pop songs. And obviously I paid him, like $100 to mix and master it, record it and everything. And so that kind of started my interest in producing. And then again, I bought a laptop. I bought kind of the equipment over the years, but I really didn't sit down and was just like, you know what, I'm actually going to just do it, which is kind of the main thing with just music in general, is just doing it. So a year and a half ago, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to just get my feet wet, and I'm going to, I created Chase Beats and then released a couple of tracks, and here I am a year and a half later.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's great. Like, we all start learning music in different ways, and it's amazing to hear everyone's story and how they started. And so, the fact that you had a music teacher who was able to help you with production and things like that is fantastic. Like, even myself, my main influence whenever I started producing was my piano teacher. He was really big into like sound equipment and audio gear and things like that, and he helped me get off my feet whenever I wanted to start recording some of my own music. So, like, you mentioned that you recorded a rock guitar EP. So, like, how did that change into lo-fi over time? What drew your attention to the lo-fi genre?
Yeah, so how I got into lo-fi is so obviously, in Nashville, the lo-fi community is growing because I've actually met a few people, within the year and a half, just kind of on Instagram, just, and realize, oh wow, they're in Nashville. So it is a growing community, but obviously in Nashville it's more country, but you do have a really big rock scene because I've been in, the rock bands in Nashville. So how that transitioned is I actually had a buddy of mine, Dreamy Kid, who I actually used to live with. And so he introduced me to lo-fi. I would hear him making beats in his room. He was releasing music probably 2 to 3 years under Dreamy Kid at that point. So he had been doing it for a while. And so I was lucky enough, again, it's just, meeting the right people, being in Music City. I was lucky enough, again, to kind of have Dreamy Kid be kind of a mentor in the beginning of how do I just start this? Like, show me what I need to do. Do you recommend certain products, certain items, certain people, and stuff like that? So my first 2 tracks ever, I released as a collab with Dreamy Kid, which was Pure Imagination Lo-Fi Cover and Wavy. And so he helped me out with those. He helped me release them. He reached out to Jan label for me for Wavy. And so that kind of got my foot in the door. And then, from there on, we've done, that's why we do a lot of collabs. If you look at my tracks, I think about 80% of them, they're collab with Dreamy Kid. And that's because when we lived in the same house, we would walk by each other's rooms and it's just like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, I can add guitar to that. Oh, I can add this to that. I can add this. And we even have tracks that we worked on together that we don't even put each other's names on at this point because it's just like, well, at this point, we just need to be like a band or a group of something. But I was very fortunate enough to have him kind of show me the ropes in the lo-fi community. So I've always enjoyed instrumental music, obviously, and I just kind of felt that lo-fi was a good starting point. I would like, as an individual, to grow in my production and produce outside of lo-fi at some point, but I feel like that was just a good transition, and that's kind of how I got, started into it.
Yeah, you actually answered one of my questions there I was going to ask already, because you mentioned Dreamy Kid there, and I noticed myself going through your discography that a lot of the tunes that you made are collabs with him. And so I was like, I've always seen the lo-fi community sort of like is really closely knit together. Like everybody's collaborating all the time, and we're always, there's not so many beats that are made just by one artist anymore. And I was kind of wanting to ask what your thoughts are on collaborating and like working with others to make music. Like, do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Just your opinions in general on collaborating.
I love it. If it was up to me, every single one of my tracks would be a collab with some sort of artist. If you read my Spotify bio, I made sure to put that in about 3 different sections of the bio of like, I want to collab. I want to also bring inspiration to other people within the music. And I think the best way to do that is by collaboration. Because I mean, I go through ruts a lot in production, probably because I'm new to it. So that's one reason why I love collaborating with other artists, is because like I can lay down a track, I can lay down an idea, and there have been multiple times where it's just like, I don't know how to take this further. Like I feel like I've kind of put all that I can into it and I just don't know where else to take it. And so I love collaboration because you can take that idea, send it to a person or 2 or 3, at this point, because there have been really long collab lists that I've seen, and then just expand on that. So as far as collaboration, I love it. I feel like most artists should do it. I would always recommend anyone going into lo-fi to do that. And 1, it helps expand you as an artist, but 2, I feel like it's also going to help expand, just your thought process in making tracks and expand your knowledge and vocabulary within production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really love that too. I entirely agree with everything you just said. Because like there's times whenever I've started a beat and I feel like I sort of exhausted my creativity with it and I can't add anything more. And so I'll send it to someone and they'll come up with this idea that I will have never thought of. And it completes it. You know, we're I think whenever we work with others and we're open to other ideas, like the creativity really it just flows, and there's so much can be made that we never even knew could be possible, and so it's really amazing to see that. So now, every call up that I've done so far has been over the internet because I don't know anyone in my locality that's a lo-fi producer, but you've worked in person with Dreamy Kid, but you've also worked with other people. Like you've even worked with me over the internet in making collabs. And how do you find that different? Like the different ways that whether you're doing it in person or doing it online, like what are the positives and negatives of each side? And which one would you prefer?
Yeah, I would say if I had to put a pros and cons list together, I feel like working in person um, can be a little bit easier, just because you can articulate, you know, better in person because one, you're talking face to face. You can either show them, it's just you get quicker back and forth versus if you're collaborating with someone, online that you met through Discord, Instagram, whatever. You send a message, you send your thought process, you send your ideas through a text message of some sorts, and then just hope that they receive it the way that you wanted it to come across. Because I feel like most people that have been producing for some time now, they've wanted to collab with an artist, they send an idea and they get back a track where they're like, I don't like the direction of what this is going. Which me and you collabing on something, we've done that a couple of
Yes.
times where
Yeah.
we'll send something back and it's just like, okay, I'm not feeling it anymore.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of the only thing I can think of. I will say the pro of collaborating with people over the internet is you're expanding kind of the discography of the artists that you can connect with. So you can connect with people that play piano, saxophone, trumpet, and stuff like that. And they know people that know people. So from there, you could kind of build more connections in that way, I would say. Um, so that would be kind of like the only kind of pro and con I can give of each. But either way, I recommend doing both. They're both great. I wouldn't not do either one if you have the opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's words of wisdom to keep. Because I mean, if there's like you lo-fi producers who are only starting out, I would totally recommend to them to just go and collaborate with as many people as you can. Because you're able to, you might not play a specific instrument and they'll play another one, or they may have a better knowledge of some part of production and they can help you. And likewise, you might know something more than I do, and we're just helping each other mutually that way. So it's really good to know that. So whenever you're producing, we're just going a little bit off subject now, but like what do you tend to do to get a creative spark going? Like how do you start your ideas? For anyone who's new to producing and maybe is a little bit stuck in knowing how to start a beat, what would you recommend to them?
Yeah. So kind of my thought process on it, and I'll just speak from me, and maybe it'll help someone else listening to this. Um, if I'm in a creative rut where I pick up a guitar and I just cannot think of any, like I cannot play anything that makes me excited to record it and produce it. I will go through various samples through various websites, whether that be Cymatics or BandLab or just places like that, and just kind of type in what I'm looking for, whether that be chill Rhodes piano in a certain key or something like that. So I use samples all the time to kind of spark my creativity. I would say most of my tracks have started with some sort of key sample or something that I have found if I'm not collaborating with an artist. So that's kind of what sparks, kind of any track that I've made. If I can't find inspiration through my own playing, and I can't, or I don't have a another artist that I'm collaborating with, is I'll just go through samples. But also, what I do too is I listen to other lo-fi artists that I like, and then kind of build a track. With that kind of same idea, obviously you don't want to copy a track, but you can kind of just be like, oh, I liked how they started with the acoustic, or I liked how they did this with the intro. Oh, I liked the use of a saxophone in a sleepy lo-fi beat or something. So I like to listen to other artists that I found through producing, that probably don't even know me. I just listen to their music. And so I'll go through, and listen to, one of their tracks. And then if I like it and be like, okay, well, how can I do something in the style of Chase Beats, that's like this track?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like you mentioned there, you're listening to other artists for creativity and like just to give you ideas. I once heard a quote that goes that there are good artists take inspiration from others, but great artists steal. But I'm not going to stand by that. I don't agree with that entirely. But we listen to other lo-fi artists for inspiration, but like, would you listen to any other genres of music and through that maybe get an idea for a lo-fi track? Like, it could be entirely some crazy hard rock tune, but from that, there's something that you get out of it that you incorporate into lo-fi.
Yeah, so I would say one of my bigger lo-fi inspirations, believe it or not, would be one of my favorite bands, the 1975.
Right? Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of, which if you haven't, go listen to them. But they have on their like deluxe albums, I'm not talking like, the radio play songs of the 1975, but they have a few just instrumental tracks on all of their albums that are, I want to just say lo-fi, they are lo-fi tracks just in these albums. And then you listen to some of their B-side tracks. And even though they do have like a hard rock distorted guitar in it, if you just strip that away, it's lo-fi. So I can just draw inspirations from a band like the 1975, and just kind of go from there. Because one, it's like I already have played music like them in various genres in bands, and then two, so that makes it kind of familiar to me. So I mean, you can easily draw lo-fi inspirations from your artist today. Just strip back the vocals, strip back the hard rock guitar, strip back if it has a rockin' drum kit. If you just have like the bare bones, it can be or turned into a lo-fi track. So
Yeah, no, I've noticed that. Even of late, there's a few lo-fi artists are even making lo-fi covers of popular songs and things like that. And you wouldn't even expect such a thing to be possible, but they're stripping it down to its bare bones and making just a relaxing, chill beat out of it. And so, like, even I myself would sometimes get inspiration listening to AC/DC to make lo-fi beats. I mean, it's the complete opposite. It's up and ready, get go music, four on the floor drum pattern, but it somehow just inspires me to sit down and make a chill, relaxing tune. And it's interesting. But so, like, even just in general, listening to music, what do you like to listen to yourself on a day-to-day basis?
yeah, so again, being from Nashville, I don't like to be one of those people that say I listen to everything, because I don't. But I will say, if you were to put my Spotify on shuffle, you're going to get a little bit of lo-fi, obviously, but you'll obviously get the country too, and my country roots. So, like, I'll say Sturgill Simpson is an artist that I really enjoy. The 1975, so you have like the indie pop kind of thing, Bad Sons, Coin. Um, it's funny you asked me, and then it's just like any song I've ever listened to just leaves my mind in this exact moment. So it's just
Yeah.
like I've actually never heard of music before. I don't know what you're talking about. Um, you know, and then kind of like the oldies like Prince and Michael Jackson. And then when I started playing guitar, I was really into classic rock. AC/DC, like you mentioned, was actually one of my favorite bands as, you know, a teenager. And I always wanted to have a black and red Gibson SG guitar like Angus Young. So Jimi Hendrix, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, you know, I listened to all that stuff, you know, on a daily basis today, you know, probably more than lo-fi. And then it's funny how you say you get inspiration through that. Um, I feel like you can maybe kind of burn yourself out if you just listen to kind of one thing and you're just, you know, trying to, you know, force inspiration that way. Um,
hmm No, I can agree with you in that. I listening to music myself get bored if I listen to the same like 4 or 5 different tracks over and over again, or even just the one genre. Like I always need to spread out and listen to different things. Um, yeah, it's interesting, but it's fun. It's funny. I myself, whenever I was like a teenager too, was all big into hard rock, and my dream guitar was also once again a cherry red Gibson SG. Like I was exactly the same as you. Although I don't have a Gibson, I did eventually purchase myself an Epiphone, but you know, it's great that we can appreciate other genres of music as well, even if it's not the things that we release. Just to be able to love music because it is music. And it's something I really, really like. Yeah. So you mentioned that you play guitar, but like, is there any other instruments that you play as well?
I would say not well. I would just say I can play any of the instruments that you can sort of play when you play guitar. So, I mean, that would include obviously bass guitar, ukulele a little bit. Um, but I mean, really, that's about it. You know, if you sit me down on a drum set, I can keep a 4/4 beat. Um, but I would just say mostly guitar. I would say I'm a guitar player, but I can dabble on other instruments, but I would not be comfortable, you know, making money off of those instruments.
Right. But would you ever try to incorporate like those other instruments you mentioned into your production, like even a ukulele, or like would you try to just experiment with them in beats that you make?
Yeah, I would not be closed off to those ideas at all. I don't own a ukulele, but you know, obviously if I had one, I probably would have already tried to do that at some point, because I will say there is like a funny thing that happens when you pick up something that you're not familiar with, or if you even like tune your guitar in a different tuning and you don't exactly know where the right notes are. And then you tend to play it a little bit differently. You're just not playing the same stuff that you're used to playing. So I will say I would honestly probably have more tracks out if I had more, you know, a variety of instruments around the studio of like, you know, just pick it up and just see what you come up with, because it's not going to be the same thing I would play if I just picked up, you know, my electric guitar tuned in E standard, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with you totally, because I used to always play everything in E standard on my guitars. And then one day I decided to tune one of my acoustics to open D. And ever since then, I've not looked back, at least with the acoustic guitar. Like all the time, I'm trying different tunings and just experimenting with something that's slightly different than what you're used to. It really encourages creativity, and you come up with ideas that you would never would have discovered beforehand if you sticked to just E standard in the guitar. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, an example I can give, you know, with us, our song "Mountaintop Views," I recorded that acoustic and dropped D of all tunings. So definitely play with the tunings on your guitar and just kind of see what you know, you can come up with. Because "Mountaintop Views" is actually one of my top stream songs that we've released together, and it was based off an idea of um, it was probably the most uncomfortable track that I've had to make because I forced myself out of my comfort zone a lot on that track by incorporating of a drop D acoustic, incorporating the samples of the trumpet that we put in there. So it was a lot of stepping out of the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I entirely agree. Whenever we step out of our comfort zone, make ourselves, slightly uncomfortable with what we're doing, we're forced to come up with new ways that will get things to just work. And it really boosts creativity. So, is there anything that you might be able to say to sort of starting off lo-fi producers who are guitarists? Do you have any tips on guitar technique or skill for them that could help them get better at the instrument? I know you're a really good guitarist, so.
Yeah, my word of advice would just be to always practice your instrument. I wouldn't say don't just play your instrument for lo-fi. Just learn the theory of your instrument. Learn scales, chords. I mean, I get that it's probably not the answer that you're wanting. It's not an exciting answer. But just be familiar with it, I guess is what I would say. And then draw inspiration from, your favorite guitar players. So like for me, a big inspiration of mine is Mateus Asado. Um, so that neo soul, I have his signature guitar. Like I love Mateus Asado. So I will go through and try to transcribe and learn a passage of his, and then just take it and flip it. I mean, it's just you hear producers all the time. You sample something, you flip it. Same thing with guitar licks. Take a guitar lick, you flip it, make it your own. Take a chord progression, change the major 1 to a major 7, change the minor 6, take it to a minor 2, change the chord progression, incorporate the licks, hammer on to pull offs, and kind of go from there. But I would just say you just need to be familiar, know what's right and what's not right, theory wise, and just kind of just think outside the box. Just draw inspiration from your favorite guitar players. If you don't know your favorite guitar player, listen. What's a band that you listen to? Look up who their guitar player is, and then just YouTube them. YouTube such and such guitar lesson, and then I promise you 101 videos will pop up, and then probably 90 of them will be Marty Schwartz, and you just watch the 10-minute video, and I would just say just practice it, and just pick up your instrument. I would say at least once a day for 30 minutes, and just familiarize yourself with it, and just go from there, and just try to come up with something, maybe once a week. Even it doesn't have to be that much. Once a week, try to come up with a chord progression or a lick that's like unique to you. I mean, we all pull from each other. You listen to John Mayer and you hear his inspirations for like Stevie or like Hendrix and like BB King. You hear his inspirations, but if someone plays like John Mayer now, you're gonna say, "Oh, he's playing like John Mayer." But who does John Mayer play like, and who do those guitar players play like? So just draw inspirations from your favorite guitarists, from your favorite lo-fi producers like myself, and just try to take a lick and flip it and make it your own, where it's not a direct copy. It can be your own style and your own derivative of it. But I would just say start from there, especially if you're in a rut like I get all the time with myself, and that's just good practice.
Mhm. Well, what you just said is it's applicable to any instrument that anyone's learning. Just find someone that's an inspiration to you and learn from what they do, their style. It could be just guitar licks that they're commonly known for. Just learn those, and as you said, flip them and make them your own. It's a great thing that whenever you hear someone's music and you can tell where it's been inspired from, but they've made it their own, it's kind of really cool that, you realize, that guitarist has been inspired by X guitarist, but they've made it their own and they've made it unique enough that it's an entirely different piece of music that comes from their heart. And like, I just find that absolutely fantastic. So before we wrap up this episode, Logan, could you tell us, like, do you have any projects happening at the moment or anything that you're working on that you want to tell us about?
Um, Really, I'm kind of, you know, I told you, but obviously where I live now recently got hit by Hurricane Helene. So I honestly have not been working on music as much as I would like to be, um, or as much as I would want to be. So as far as projects go, I have a couple of just, obviously a couple of tracks in the works. Nothing big. But obviously, we have another track that we just finished that we are going to be releasing soon. I have another idea that I've sent to a couple of artists to hope to collab with, because again, I would always prefer to collab with an artist if I have an opportunity to. So I have a couple of ideas just kind of, out there. But that's what I have as far as, chase beats, and lo-fi tracks at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, but no, like, it's good though you're wanting to branch out with other artists. And so, for example, if someone wanted to get in contact with you and wanted to make a collab, are you open to that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
My DMs are always open. Again, I love meeting new people. I love collabing with new artists all the time. So yeah, I mean, if someone's listening to this podcast and you want to work together,
Yeah. No,
shoot me a
that
message.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. So where can we find you then? Like, what socials are you on, or how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so the main social media I use for Chase Beats would be Instagram, and my username is just at chasebeats.wav. You can reach me out there. I'm obviously on Discord, and I'm in a bunch of the servers for different labels and such. You might see me message on there or put a demo in their collab section if they have one. But I would just say, if you want a direct communication to me, Instagram at chasebeats.lab would be probably the easiest and best way.
Yeah. No, but that's great. And so, Logan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this short interview. It's been amazing talking to you. And you've said so many just little gems of wisdom for little budding lo-fi producers that they can learn from and, become better at what they do. So thank you so much. It's been great, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Okay. All the best.
All right.